known each other for 10 years. I wanted to know if he'd spend the rest of his life with me. Yes or no, Chris? That's it. Yes or no?
As an African man, you have to do it the proper way.
I'll go and kiss her, man. You want to see that, man? You want to see some juice, right?
Now, I'm no body language expert, but something about this man shaking his head no, and something about the look on his face as these photos are being taken leads me to believe that he doesn't want to get married, or he doesn't want to get married to her. I know there are women out there that are very progressive and don't believe in gender roles. You believe that if a woman finds something that she wants, why wait on a man to propose to you? The thing about it is, I feel like when women propose to men, sometimes the men will make you pay for it, and they will punish you for that the entire marriage. Not all men, but some do. We always wonder what kind of man would say the most evil, cruel, disrespectful things in his vows. This kind of man, the kind of man that felt forced to marry that woman. We wonder what kind of man that would wrestle a woman down and smash cake in her face. We wonder what kind of man that seems like he doesn't like his wife even on his wedding day, because some of them feel like they were guilt tripped, tricked, and manipulated into getting married. What also bothers me about this whole thing is how he says, I'm an African man and I believe in doing things the right way. Didn't she say you guys have a child together? What do you mean right way? You already had a child out of wedlock. What's the problem? But I also have to say this. For the women that decide to do this, I actually consider it to be somewhat manipulative. You know good and well, if you have asked that man, like when it was just the two of you alone in a room, and dropped down to one knee or just asked him to marry you, you know that man would say no. But you put this pressure situation together. You get all the people that love him in one room, and you hope that you can try to force or manipulate that proposal out of him, manipulate a yes out of him. It's like the lady who proposed and she was like, I asked your mama and she said yes. I asked your sister and she said yes. I asked your daughter and she said yes. Why do you feel like you have to put me in a room with all these people to pressure a yes out of me? I feel like it's manipulative. You'll get a ring to keep you quiet, but it won't necessarily keep you happy, because the man wants to feel like it was his idea, and it's clearly not his when you're asking.
I'm not proposing to you. It's more of a will you marry me because we're not getting younger type of thing.
And that's the reason.
But why won't you marry me? What are you?
Her caption to this video actually said that he begged her not to post this online. So even he was trying to spare her from the embarrassment. Ladies, before you take pancake batter and spell out the words, will you marry me, and present it on a plate to your long-term boyfriend and ask him why he hasn't married you, just grab your things and move on. He knows that you want to be married. He knows that you're expecting a relationship to go in a certain way. You should never have to ask a man. You should never have to ask him. You should have in your mind a certain amount of time that you're willing to wait. And when that time has elapsed, then you realize, you know what? You tell him the relationship isn't progressing the way that I thought it would, the way that I hoped that it would. And I don't want to give this any more time. I know that it's easier said than done. But the last thing you want to be doing is begging the man. And look how he's taking a breath like, oh, he's looking very much like, here we go again. It makes you feel like, how many times have you asked this man to marry you? Clearly he doesn't want to if he hasn't asked. You don't want it like this. You don't want a proposal that you had to beg or manipulate or guilt trip out of a man. Because then you'll always have to wonder, did he marry me because he actually loved me or because I asked him to? You want it to be his idea. You want him to be head over heels, can't marry you fast enough. Like, you don't want it like this. You don't want to have begged and pleaded for it. A man always wants to feel like a decision this big was his idea. It's like, some men will actually take the bait and they will marry you because you keep pressuring them. And I just made a video that went viral recently about how these men were like shoving wedding cake in their wives' faces. One wrestled a woman down to the ground. Another one, in his vows, he was saying all this disrespectful stuff to his new wife. Some of them will marry you due to the pressure, but they'll never let you forget that it was your idea. And I'll be real with you. One of the main reasons why a man won't marry you is because he doesn't have to. Because you're giving him all of the wife treatment without actually having to be a wife. You're cooking for him, cleaning for him, being intimate with him. You live together. You have kids together. You've bought a house together. You own a business together. You share a same bank account. Like some of you are doing all of the things. There is nothing on the other side. He's getting every single thing that he could ever think of that he would ever get from you as a wife without having to make you one. And he won't. Like, there should always be some things that are reserved for a husband. where he knows that if I want to take it to that level, I'm gonna have to marry this girl. But when you do all the things, like, that's why he don't want to marry you. Like, why should he? Y'all are doing too much for these boyfriends. And that's why they're happy they'll be your boyfriend for the rest of their lives if you let them.
There's actually a worse show than The Ultimatum in the world. It's called Marry Me Now. And the whole gist of it is that people who have been together forever surprise their significant other by proposing to them and then taking them without their knowledge to a surprise wedding. Of course, it's on OWN because Oprah knows we are just messy. A lot of women did not believe me when I said if it's been a certain amount of time and the man does not want to marry you, he hasn't made any moves about it, it's a shut up ring, he doesn't want to be with you. And this man couldn't even make it down the aisle same day with his shut up ring. Granted, he did look a bit shell-shocked when his girlfriend of 7.5 years showed up on a random street with a wedding dress on.
Brandon, Christopher Williams, will you marry me?
I knew y'all were up to something. I was like, yeah, y'all's story doesn't make any sense.
Look, he said everything first, but then he finally says,
I have another question for you. You have red lips. Now that we got that out of the way, so let's go to the wedding.
Let's go to the wedding.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes. Our
Okay.
friends and family are waiting.
Okay.
So, are you ready?
I guess. This is very fast.
I mean, on the one hand, I don't disagree. I don't think you should be throwing anybody a surprise wedding, but it's not very fast because it's been 7.5 years. And while I do not endorse doing this under any circumstances, I feel like people sort of earned this moment. If you've been playing with somebody for 7 years before you all break up, you do need to experience the same embarrassment that you've given them playing in their face for all these decades. This show includes all the elements of a shut-up ring I've told you to look for. So the length of time they've been together without marriage, the fact that she, the woman, is proposing to him. Wow, how embarrassing. This man's in a t-shirt and you're in a beautiful wedding dress, begging him to marry you. This is tragic. Please, ladies, even though this is a TV show, don't let it get to this point in your own relationship because this man is about to embarrass the fool out of her. Check it out.
Everyone thought for sure you were going to say yes. And then people are asking why you didn't do it.
See, she's not really laughing. This is the laughter of embarrassment. Everybody's asking her why she's proposing to him. And she's, getting completely embarrassed in front of her family. But that's not the worst of it. He shows up to the venue. He sees all of his friends and family are there. And this is what he says.
Okay.
You want to sit down?
Okay.
Can we talk?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I put this down for a little bit? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Soothing.
So, obviously, you look beautiful. You look absolutely gorgeous. You look fantastic.
Thank you.
And I love you very much.
I love you too.
Would you be really terribly mad at me if we didn't do this today? If we could plan it and actually get all of our loved ones to do this? Can we do this at a later date?
There's this book I love. It's called The War of Art. And the guy tells you that the procrastination in you doesn't tell you you're never going to do your work. It tells you you're going to do it later. Later is a big red flag. If a man is ever telling you you're going to do something later, he means not at all. But he knows if he says not at all, you're never going to stay with him. He's not going to be able to milk you like a cow for the benefits. He's been doing that to her for 7.5 years. Now, the penny seems to finally drop in this moment. She finally seems to get that all her friends and family were not against her when they were telling her this guy was never going to marry her. She finally starts to understand for herself. And I was very proud. This is what she says.
I know you love me, but it feels like you love me, but maybe just not enough. Why don't you go tell everyone your reasons for canceling today?
Okay.
I love that. I love how she and the wedding planner were like, we're not part of this. Like, you need to tell the people since you don't want to get married so bad. But this woman, I thought she was just the wedding planner. She's the relationship coach telling these women to propose to their longtime boyfriends. She needs a behind beating, honestly. That's a bad dress, though. I love that snakeskin dress, but she needs a beat down. Because why would you do that? But I do think what the planner has to say encapsulates the whole experience.
I'm heartbroken because I've watched this beautiful woman lay it all on the line and lay it out there, pour her heart into this. And he's willing to not only say no, he was also willing to do that in front of everyone she loves. And his excuses for that were pretty lame.
No.
This man doesn't even seem to realize he's making a fool of himself. This is his father here, and his father's like, this is nonsense. And, he's about to walk into the church in front of all of his family and her family and just embarrass himself. But everybody here knew he was never going to marry this girl. I think she was the only one who was actually in denial. And this is why you have to have measures in place to protect yourself. This is why you have to have a time limit in your head, and you have to say, I'm not going beyond this. I'm not, if you have a standard, don't slip beneath it. If the standard is you're not having children without marriage, if the standard is you're not waiting more than a certain amount of time for marriage, you cannot give up your standard because you will get embarrassed. And after you've given and given and given, this man's been telling her later for 7.5 years. Later, a later date. I don't have this. She asked him, what's missing? This friend is not here. He named one person, and he was like, I'm sure there are probably other close people I can think of. She's flown her family from halfway across the world to set up this wedding. But again, you're doing this show exists because the person doesn't want to marry you because you've talked about it, and now you're basically trying to strong arm them into it. And that doesn't excuse them being wrong for stringing you along, but don't even let yourself get to this point. Never let having a particular person become more important than your goals, because she could have found another man who was ready to marry her in 6 months. Like, there is somebody for everybody in this world. If somebody is talking slow after being with you for years and years, just let them go. Let them go. You can do so much better. There's no need for you to embarrass yourself like this. Because honestly, this man is not even attractive. He doesn't seem to have some great career. Like, I have no idea why she is crying over him and stressing out over him. And I mean, all her family now has to come and comfort her. And you've been embarrassed on national TV over this man? Him? Yikes.
If your friend told you she was going to get down on one knee and propose to her boyfriend, would you tell her to go for it? Or would you tell her absolutely not? I don't know if you guys have seen that clip of that female proposing to her boyfriend in the restaurant recently, where she gets down on one knee and he's like, is this part of that sassy man era thing? Now, marriage is a beautiful thing, but I would rather walk in the middle of a thunderstorm with no shoes on than get on one knee and propose to somebody who might not have wanted to propose to me. Like I hope that man doesn't try to walk down the aisle to her. But you guys watch it and you let me know what you honestly think.
It's that time of the year where women are proposing to their men again. God. I believe that women proposing to men is a sickness. It is a disease. It is an illness. It is a pandemic, if you will. If either of my friends ever in their life to think they're going to decide to propose to their man in front of me, I will put that in a headlock while she's on her knee. It's not going to happen in front of me. If you don't get the up.
I don't ever want to be I don't want to walk. I don't ever want to see that. Not even my friends looking. Can you imagine just being at the restaurant? We don't tolerate that around here.
Not around here.
We don't tolerate women proposing to men and women not having their nails done when they get proposed to.
Absolutely. If he proposed to you and your nails are not done, he's not the man for you. Because why would he do that to you?
Period.
Cuticles all busted. You got hangnails.
Yeah.
Talk about get a picture of the ring.
Over the past couple months, I have seen one too many videos of women proposing to men. And I just got something to say to y'all. Stand up. This man has not proposed to you because of one or two reasons. Either he does not want to be married or he does not want to be married to you. Because there's no excuse as to why he can't get a ring. They have payment plans. I understand that rings are expensive, but they have payment plans ranging anywhere from $25 to $100 a month. And if this man cannot afford $25, $50, or $100 a month, that requires a different conversation to have. I understand that weddings are expensive, but weddings are only as expensive as you and your partner want them to be. A good wedding is not determined by how much money you spend. It's about the quality of the experience that you have with your partner and celebration of the unity that you two have together. I've even heard the excuse of men saying, oh, I don't want the government in my business. Let me tell you something. When you file taxes, the government's in your business. When you pay taxes, the government's in your business. When you have a bank account, the government's in your business. When you have health insurance, the government's in your business. When you change your address, guess what happens? The government's in your business. I understand they're just legal documents. All marriage is a legal binding contract. I hear y'all. I get it. Legally, your wife can now be on your health insurance. Legally, if something were to happen to you, your wife could take care of things because legally she's married to you. She's your wife. Marriage is a very simple question, and it doesn't require an elaborate explanation. You either want to be married or you don't. It's a yes or no question. Now, of course, there are variables that are included as far as time frames, how much money, expectations, etc., so on and so forth. But if we're talking about the generalized question, do you want to be married or do you see yourself being married? It's a yes or a no. And if you as a woman recognize that the man that you are with has not proposed to you after X amount of years, then some questions should start arising inside of you. And the first question should
For reasons why women shouldn't propose.
Number 1, it makes you look desperate or impatient. I'm sorry, there's no nice way to say it. Ask guys what they think. Number 2, it puts the man in an awkward position or situation. Whether he says yes or no, he doesn't feel good about either answer. Number 3, once you initiate, you have to keep initiating. So if you want a relationship or a marriage where a man initiates, don't get in the way and start things off with proposing. Number 4, you'll never know whether or not you were his choice. Don't rob him of the opportunity to propose and let you know that he chose you. For the full video, go to my YouTube.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It goes on in the video where he actually says no and walks out of the place. How embarrassing for her. First of all, ma'am, you need to get a whole new set of friends because those ain't your friends. First thing. Second of all, when you are a woman who's in your feminine energy, then you understand that you don't chase, you attract. And that the man who has identified your value will more than be glad to get down on his knees and propose to you. Proposing to a man is a desperate move, especially after 3 months. You don't even know this man. How do you know that he is even worthy of having you? Ladies, please, let's just never do this again.
We've known each other for 10 years. I wanted to know if you'd spend the rest of his life with me. Yes or no, Chris? That's it. Yes or no?
As an African man, you have to do it the proper way.
I'll go and kiss her, man. You want to see that, man? You want to see some juice, right?
Now, I'm no body language expert, but something about this man shaking his head no, and something about the look on his face as these photos are being taken leads me to believe that he doesn't want to get married or he doesn't want to get married to her. I know there are women out there that are very progressive and don't believe in gender roles. You believe that if a woman finds something that she wants, why wait on a man to propose to you? The thing about it is, I feel like when women propose to men, sometimes the men will make you pay for it and they will punish you for that the entire marriage. Not all men, but some do. We always wonder what kind of man would say the most evil, cruel, disrespectful things in his vows. This kind of man, the kind of man that felt forced to marry that woman. We wonder what kind of man that would wrestle a woman down and smash cake in her face. We wonder what kind of man that seems like he doesn't like his wife even on his wedding day, because some of them feel like they were guilt tripped, tricked, and manipulated into getting married. What also bothers me about this whole thing is how he says, I'm an African man and I believe in doing things the right way. Didn't she say you guys have a child together? What do you mean right way? You already had a child out of wedlock. What's the problem? But I also have to say this. For the women that decide to do this, I actually consider it to be somewhat manipulative. You know good and well, if you have asked that man, like when it was just the two of you alone in a room, and dropped down to one knee or just asked him to marry you, you know that man would say no. But you put this pressure situation together. You get all the people that love him in one room, and you hope that you can try to force or manipulate that proposal out of him, manipulate a yes out of him. It's like the lady who proposed and she was like, I asked your mama and she said yes. I asked your sister and she said yes. I asked your daughter and she said yes. Why do you feel like you have to put me in a room with all these people to pressure a yes out of me? I feel like it's manipulative. You'll get a ring to keep you quiet, but it won't necessarily keep you happy because the man wants to feel like it was his idea and it's clearly not his when you're asking.
I see proposal videos of women proposing to their men, e.g. this. I always think about when people ask me, am I meant to pursue my man as a woman? I know the cliche answer that everyone gives is he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Your man is meant to find you. And I agree. But let me take it one step further. I heard a creator on this app describe it this way. Adam had a rib taken out of him to create Eve. When you lose something, it is not the responsibility of the person that found it to find you and give it back. It is your responsibility to go after what it is that you had taken from you. And because we know God does not make mistakes and he's a very intentional God, the fact that he made Eve out of Adam's rib is an indicator that that was Adam's thing to go and find in Eve, not the other way around. Eve was not meant to go find Adam and be like, oh, I'm your rib, by the way. That doesn't answer the question. I don't know what will. Women, we were not made to pursue a man. Yes, we can position ourselves correctly to be seen by the man just in case he ain't checking for us. But the goal was never for us to be the ones pursuing men. It's just not the natural order of things. But I know we modern these days, so if that's your cup of tea, girl, do you. But if we're talking about are we meant to, I don't think so, personally.
Picture this, you are dating someone, you've been together with your boyfriend for a while, and everything's going so well. You are in love, and you're like, this is it, this is my guy, except he's not making a move. So you propose to him. Is it a good idea? I'm asking this question because Joshua Jackson, who many millennials know from Dawson's Creek, and Jodie Turner-Smith announced that they're divorcing. There are people on the internet speculating that the reason why they did not work out is because Jodie actually proposed to Joshua. And this got me thinking, how common is it in our modern world for women to propose to men? It turns out it's extremely rare. Only 5% of women propose to the man they're dating. Atlantic did an article a few years back exploring how even in modern times it's very rare for women to propose to men. In the article, The Atlantic spoke to Stephanie Kuntz, who wrote this book, Marriage and History. She's basically an expert in modern relationships. And she says that our relationships and roles in those relationships are evolving. For example, men have tripled the amount of childcare that they do. And there used to be a trend when women would earn more than their husbands, it would lead to divorce, but that has also started disappearing. Basically, women proposing to men nowadays is not that unusual, it just doesn't happen that frequently. And I even have 8 other examples of famous women who have proposed to their husbands. Out of Elizabeth Taylor's 8 marriages, she proposed once. And that was to Michael Walding. She proposed to the British actor while working on a film in England. They had 2 children before they got divorced, and you know, that's life. Kristen Bell proposed to Dax Shepard. Pink proposed to Carrie Hart. Even my girl Brittany proposed. And yes, the relationship didn't work out, but there are a ton of men who propose to women and they also get divorced. Sarah Snook from Succession proposed to her husband. At the age of 80, Judge Judy proposed to her husband, who was at the time 89. Life doesn't stop when you get older, folks. After 26 years of New York's most notorious unattached couple, designer Diane von Furstenberg proposed to Billy Dillard. And even Elizabeth Warren proposed to her husband. They have been holding strong for over 39 years. So is a relationship likely to fail if a woman proposes? No, there's no data to support that. If you are with someone and they make you happy, they take care of you, they treat you right, they respect you, you feel like it is a positive, healthy partnership, you do whatever you want.
A woman proposes to a man, one of 2 things is going on. Either he really doesn't want to marry her, depending on the time.
Right.
So either he really doesn't want to marry her, or she's very impatient. So those are the only two reasons why I think a woman would propose to a man.
Right.
And I also believe that there's a certain amount of time where a proposal can become meaningless, I think.
What do you mean by that?
So let's say a couple is together 10 years.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden there's a proposal. Like, fam, what have you been waiting on? You understand what I'm saying? Like, what took so long?
That's a long time.
Why does it take 10 years?
The post say, congratulations to Marissa Silver, a 29-year-old designer making $95K a year. She just proposed to her boyfriend of 10 years. He's a line cook at Waffle House. Gen Z is really built different. Look, I don't see nothing wrong with it. It'd have been plenty of 95K good job having blue collar men proposing to line cooks at Waffle House, fast food workers, retail workers. So at the end of the day, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Look, women want everything to be equal, but at the same time, they don't want everything to be equal. They only want the things that they want to be equal. But at the end of the day, in my book, hey, it's going to have to be equal all across the board. So if you want to get married, propose to your man. Go buy him a ring, get down on one knee and ask that man to marry you.
I gave him the ultimatum and I told him that if he didn't propose to me by December 31st at 11:59 that I was gonna leave, because I feel like I do all the wifey duties with no ring or no sign of commitment. We have 2 kids and I literally do everything, and after all of these years I feel like he should know already if he wants to marry me or not.
First off, if you're gonna tell me you have by this date to marry you, you can leave. Because I am not gonna marry you when you tell me to marry you. I'm not running on your time to propose to you. And I'm gonna wait. And what's gonna happen?
You're not gonna propose.
If you leave, then you weren't meant for me.
He doesn't need ultimatums. He doesn't need empty threats. None of that. We all know today is December 31st. You're not going anywhere. January 1st, y'all still gonna be together. He's calling your bluff. That's why you never give ultimatums, because you know you're not really gonna leave this man. Not 1, but 2 kids together. Y'all been together for 9 years. You got a house together, all of this. The reason why he's not going to marry you is because he doesn't have to. You've given him everything. Like you said, I do all the wifely duties. You're cooking, you're cleaning, you're doing all these things. There is no incentive. This is what happens when you give boyfriends the wife package. They don't feel like they have to upgrade. Now, I will give him a little bit of grace, both of you, because y'all got together when you were 13 years old, had your first child at 15 years old. Like, you guys, you were really young, and you're still really young. You're about to be 22. But I feel like there's a part of him that might feel like there's something else out there. He hasn't dated enough women to know what he really wants. I feel like he thinks he has plenty of time because y'all are still young. But that's the difference between sometimes men and women. A woman can meet the love of her life in kindergarten and be all about that man all her life. But for men, especially these days with everything available on social media, how easy it is to meet women and see women, some men feel like they have time because they've never had more options. And no matter how amazing you are to that man, some of them are still on the lookout for that bigger, better deal. If you ever give a man an ultimatum, you better be prepared to back it up.
I used to be one of those women that would give men an ultimatum or threaten to leave him if they didn't treat me right. Not anymore. Let me tell you why. First and foremost, an ultimatum is a form of manipulation. And secondly, threatening someone is just forcing them to do something that they really don't want to do. Do you really want to be with someone that you had to manipulate to be with you? Do you really want to be with someone that you had to threaten to be with you? No, that's not authentic love. You go with the person that chooses you, not the person that you had to force to be with you.
Ladies, let me explain something to you. Stop pressuring these men to marry you. Yes, you. Stop pressing these men to marry you. If he don't come to you and get on one knee and ask you to be his wife with a ring, don't you initiate it. Don't go on 2 dates with a guy and then you assume and you say to him, babe, we're going to get married. We're going to be together forever. No, he didn't want that. You pushed that on him. That be the number one reason why men leave you women at the altar. That be the number two reason why men bail out, go out and cheat, because you're pressuring them into something that they don't want. You want that title to be married. He don't. Stop pressing these men into marrying you. It's the man's job to come to you and get on one knee with a beautiful ring and ask you to be his wife. Stop pressing.
It seems like 2024 is the year that women are being exposed for desperation when it comes to marriage, the white picket fence, the wedding, all of that. Did you guys see the video of a woman and her man? They're driving, right? And they've been dating for 10 years. 10 years. And this whole time she's wanted marriage. So they're driving. And this man decides this is the time I'm going to propose. And she's the one driving. He pulls out a raggedy looking ring that looked like it was from the pawn shop. Again, pawn shop, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like after 10 years, you should have saved a lot of money, enough money to give her something that she would want. And she said no. She's like, I'm sick and tired of this ish, blah, 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 because I've been with you for 10 years. And I told you 5 years ago I wanted marriage and you never did it. And he was basically, it was coming off as like a shut up ring. He just pulls out the ring and proposes. She gets in the house and she starts to pack her stuff. And she's like, I'm leaving you. I'm gone. Watching that video was so freaking appalling. Like, there was no thought put into it at all. I'm like, as women, we let ourselves suffer. I'm sorry. We have to make ourselves accountable for some of this stuff, because we be wanting married from a man who does not want to give us that. And we stay and we are hopeful. We try to push it down his throat to change his mind. And it's like, if the man does not want to marry you, he does not want to give the life that you want, get up and leave. At this point, I'm sorry, I have to blame us women for putting up with stuff like that, because we are participating in our own suffering. And as a woman, if you're gonna date and you want marriage and kids, you have to set up a time limit with anybody that you're dating. Let them know in the beginning, hey, I don't date anyone for longer than a year or longer than 2 years, whatever your timeline is, if I feel like it's not gonna go anywhere. And let it be known up front. And you have to be strong enough to, stick to those boundaries. And when the time comes and that man has not changed, you have to be able to leave. Because if you're staying, you're not gonna change his mind, and you're just wasting your time. You're wasting your time of being with the person that you're supposed to be with, and they are wasting your youth. You have to set up a time constraint with these men. Otherwise, they're not. And if they don't want to marry you guys, they don't. And I feel like a lot of women, we need to focus more on self-love. Taking that love that we push into men and put it into ourselves. And when you do that, I'm sorry, there is magic behind that, in my opinion. Like, I feel like sometimes it's better than trying to be in a relationship where you feel like you got to push the man. I'm sorry, 2024 is exposing women, and we have to do better. We do.
I don't know if this is going to shock you the same way it shocked me when I first heard this, but I met a woman who bought her own engagement ring. A woman marrying another man, a straight woman, and she bought her own engagement ring. And when I first heard this, I thought, you're the only person. Surely this is insanity. Surely this is the maddest one can get. But then I heard that other people have done it. Oh my, who are these men? Who is that man that you're so desperate to marry that you will even buy your own engagement ring? Who? Because I know it's not Barack Obama, so who is it? I know it's not Michael B. Jordan. I know it's not Idris Elba. Who is it? Who is it? Because I don't understand how'd you get to that stage in life? Me, I don't care how ugly I get in this life. I don't care if I end up being a woman with 50 baby dads and 84 kids and I'm scared nobody's gonna marry me. There's no way I can buy my own engagement ring. Because guess what? There is no man on this earth that is worth buying your own engagement. Man don't like you. There is no man. That man is not there. He's not there. That can make you. How? What's going on? This has gone beyond treating men like they're the prize. Oh, this, I don't even know the word. I have no words. I don't know what to say.